violin students! Today we're going to work on your KMEA audition excerpts for year 3, which means that you'll be using these excerpts to audition for District Honors Orchestra in November of 2020, and again for state auditions in January of 2021 for state orchestra that will take place in February of 2021. I know that that seems like a long time away, but the standard for these audition excerpts is very, very high. So it's very important that we get started now and make sure that everything is very clean, that you are really, really comfortable with all of these so that you're prepared to go in and have great auditions this fall and winter. So we're going to go ahead and get started with your scales. Now, this video is just to help you absolutely get started from scratch on these excerpts. We're not going to take anything at tempo today. We're going to take everything nice and slow. I want you to focus on having, number one, a beautiful tone as you play. Number two, getting the right notes with the right fingerings at the right time. Right now, we're just trying to get these tunes in our ears and make sure that we're very, very comfortable with how the fingerings go and how everything sounds. If you can play things well slowly, then it will be much easier to speed up the tempo as we get closer to auditions, and it will also be easier to put in phrasing, dynamics, all of the things that take these little black dots on the page and turn them into music and make you have a great audition. For today, I want you just to focus on playing beautifully and making sure that we're getting the right note, right finger, right time. Now, I know that some of you who are incoming freshmen for the year of 2021, you have never played this high before, and that these notes over here are very, very scary looking. I understand that, and I don't want you to be stressed out about it. I want you just to take things nice and slow, and as we shift, I want you to remember that shifting is the same, essentially, from first to third is the same as when you're way higher up on the instrument. You want to make sure that you take your hand with you. You also want to make sure that you are getting your elbow underneath the instrument, because if you're not and you're just shifting up like this, you're going to run into a spot where you have to start stretching with your fingers, and we don't want to do that. Think about stretching with your arm, and your fingers should just land beautifully right over the top of the fingerboard. The other thing that I want you to remember about playing high is that the higher up the instrument you get, the closer together your steps become, which means that your fingers at the top of these scales are going to be very, very, very close together. You shouldn't at any point feel like you are having to stretch your fingers. So to get started, we are going to play this with our metronome set at 60 beats per minute. We aren't going to use any slurs. We're just going to play every note as a quarter note. We'll start with our E flat major scale. Remember, the E flat major has 3 flats: B flat, E flat, and A flat. You'll notice that there are fingerings written above the notes. There's also, right down here on the bottom left of your PDF, there's a fingering chart. That fingering chart will get you both up and down on this major scale. Now, my students, you should have these PDFs in your emails. If you don't, feel free to reach out and I'll send them over. If you're not one of my students, but you'd still like to get PDFs with my fingerings, feel free to reach out, mandadeegan@gmail.com or 785-341-2485, and I would be happy to send those over to you. If you're just looking for clean copies without any fingerings or bowings written in, you can download those at the Kansas Music Educators Association website. So to get started, every note in its own bow, nice big long whole bows, no vibrato. E flat major, ready, go. I know that that is incredibly high. If you're not used to playing that high, please don't stress out or worry about it. I promise that it will get easier to hear those pitches the more you practice. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and try it one more time just like that. Ready? Go. Now remember, you don't have to go on with this video from here. You can rewind and practice those as many times as you need to. I would suggest that you do each of those scales, or each of these scales, probably 10 times in a row to get started. The second scale is A minor, which is relative to C major. That means that there are no sharps and no flats in the key signature. However, we're playing a melodic minor scale. That means that the scale is different on the way up than it is on the way down. On the way up, or as we ascend the scale, we're going to raise the 6th and 7th notes of each octave half a step. That means that as you go up the scale, F natural and G natural become F sharp and G sharp. Now as you come back down the scale or descend the scale, those notes go back to the key signature, so they become F natural and G natural again. That's why you have two fingering charts on the bottom of your PDF. The one in the middle is for ascending or going up the scale, and the one on the far right is for descending or coming down the scale. Your fingers will be the same, but the distances between the fingers will be different. The half steps and the whole steps will be different on the way up than they are on the way down. It's very important that you practice this scale slowly so that you can get the pattern in your head. So yet again, we're going to go ahead and set our metronome for 60 beats per minute. Here is A minor. Ready? Go. Nicely done. Let's go ahead and do exactly the same thing again. Ready, go. Very nice. So make sure that you are practicing each of those scales at least a few times every day. Eventually we'll want to add in the slurs, and then we'll want to start picking up the tempo on those as well. In addition to your scales, you have 3 excerpts. An excerpt is just a little section of a piece of orchestral music. So our first excerpt for violin this year is Mozart 35. All right, we have just this little bit of the first violin part. Now the tempo on this is marked at 132 to 138. That is flying. It is really, really, really fast. If you want to be able to play it fast, you first have to be able to play it slowly and accurately, and then we can start working our way up. But it's going to take some slow practice before you're ready to start speeding things up. Now, I also know that there are some weird positions in here. We've got some second position, we've got some fourth position. I know that most of you are more comfortable in third and fifth. That's okay. I want you to force yourselves to practice this with the fingerings that I have marked in here. I promise that as we get faster, these positions that you think of as the strange positions will be the positions that save you and make this piece playable at the tempo that we eventually need to reach. So even if it's uncomfortable, even if it feels strange, I want you to make sure that you're taking these shifts into second position and fourth position as we go through this. Also, you'll notice that there are a couple of places where we have chords of 3 notes. Now, in an orchestral setting, you would never play a chord of 3 notes. And so we're not going to do that here either. We're just going to go ahead and take the top 2 notes. We're going to stick with 60 beats per minute, which I know is less than half tempo. We've got to go much faster, but we have to find somewhere to start. Here we go from the beginning. Find your D. 1, 2, ready, go. 3 and a 4 and. Nicely done. So you need to make sure that you're practicing this excerpt slowly and enough times that you are completely comfortable with the fingerings and the bowings before you start speeding it up. So you can rewind this video and practice over and over and over again until you've got those shifts and the fingerings and how everything fits together with your metronome. Please, as you're practicing these excerpts, either practice along with this video of me or practice with your metronome, but make sure that you are not allowing yourself to fluctuate in tempo. I want you to get the tune in your ear. That's the most important part. So there are 3 excerpts that you need to prepare for these auditions this year. The second one for violin is Carmen by Bizet, which is very, very fun. Again, we have some weird positions in here, some strange shifts. There are also some strange intervals, and we'll talk more about those in a minute. So again, on this one, the tempo is marked at 104 to 112, which is quite quick. We're going to go ahead and take it slower than that to start with. We're going to stick with 60 beats per minute for our quarter note. The first thing that you need to do is find that E. It is 1 octave above your open E string. Most of you have played that harmonic before. It's the same note. So you can find your harmonic and then put your second finger just a little bit lower than where that harmonic sounded, and that should put you right in 6th position. I also want you to be aware that your trill trills to an F natural, which means that your third finger is going to be right up against your second. It's not a whole step, it's a half step from E to F natural. Here we go. 1, 2, go. So the ending of this is a very, very strange pattern. There's some very strange intervals at the end. So incredibly slowly, without the metronome, I am going to play just the last line for you down an octave. All right, so rather than starting on this F sharp, I'm going to start on this F sharp, simply because it's a lot easier to hear the intervals when we're down a little bit lower. So I'm going to go nice and slow, just so that you can hear what that sounds like. Okay, so now we'll try exactly the same thing, but with the metronome, again at 60, and I want you to play along with me, but I want you to play it as it's written. So I'll be playing an octave lower. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, ready, go. Let's do that one more time. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, ready, go. Wonderful. So practice the little sections that give you problems, but also practice the entire excerpt as many times as you feel that you need to be comfortable with the fingerings. The last excerpt that we have for violin this year is Dvorak New World Symphony, or Symphony No. 9, which is one of those pieces that everybody loves to play. I love to play it. This is an absolutely beautiful excerpt. Now, it is a largo, which means that it is quite a bit slower. Our 60 beats per minute is actually within the marked tempo range for this piece, so that's what we're going to go ahead and stick with. Now, I know that there are a lot of dynamic markings in this excerpt. For right now, we're not going to worry too much about those. For right now, we're just going to try and get the right notes at the right time with a beautiful tone. I want you to get that tune in your ear, and that way it will be much easier once we start adding in dynamics and phrasing and turning this into more musical excerpts as opposed to just those little black dots. So again, here's 60 beats per minute. Watch your key signature. We're in E major, 4 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And that's all there is to it. So, students, please let me know what I can do to help you as you prepare these excerpts. For right now, I think I just want you to focus on practicing, trying to get the tune in your head, work with this video as much as you need to, and then once you're comfortable, we can start speeding them up. We can start talking about what all we can do, the other things that we can add to make your audition stand out. So go home, go practice, watch this video lots and lots of times, and have lots of fun. I will see you at your lessons. Happy practicing.